Admin Tech team, can you make it as Monojit Das as co-host so that he'll be ready for his presentation? Yeah. So we are going to have this third session now. We are starting the technical aspect of cyber safety session. So we can have, like, we will be having how to understand device safety. Sir, can you, Monojit sir, can you make it full screen? Yeah. We will be having the session now on device safety and security. So before we start the session, we will be now first having the attendance. Himanshi, can you share the attendance sheet in the chat box? So this this session, there will be an attendance sheet and there will be activity in between. So both will be considered for your attendance. So be careful about participating in activity also. Himanshi, can you share the attendance sheet? Till she shares, like, I would like to little bit take few instructions to be shared, because we have seen in the morning that there are many people who haven't still properly registered yourself. So we want you to register yourself in the proper registration ID as well. Some of you have already registered, most of you have already registered, but some haven't registered yet. So I'm just going to share the link for registration also in the group. But see the category of yours and then register in that respective format if you have not registered. Okay, if you have already registered, you should not register again. Attendance sheet is already shared. To it is like next 10 minutes, kindly fill your attendance first. And the registration links are shared here for your reference. If you have not registered, then you should ensure before today evening you should register yourself. Kindly finish the attendance first.
Need more people for testing.
Already I have given.
Manisha is gone.
Kindly finish your attendance. And if you have not registered yourself yet in the registration form, we have given 3 different registration links. According to your category, you need to select the link and then fill it in this. Don't fill wrongly. It will be difficult for us to handle it. So we request you to. And also I request everyone to rename yourself, because there are still people Vivo V2251. So your attendance is not getting marked. So those who haven't still renamed, kindly rename before the session starts. While you're filling the attendance, I request Himanshi to introduce the resource person. Sir, I request everyone, once you have done attendance, no need to write that attendance is done, not done. It is not required to post it. Okay. Himanshi, you are able to unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can introduce Monojit ji so that we can start the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have Dr. Manojit Das with us, who works in the area of national security and in the area of cyber security. He has been the visiting faculty to institutes in India and oversees alongside members of curricular development, and his public contributions include authorizing many articles in the area of cyber safety and security. Monojit sir, I would request you to please uh, share your screen and we can start with the session.
Attendance will be closed by 2:12. Those who haven't may mark your attendance, kindly finish it.
Okay.
Monojit sir, it's like in the slide 14.
Okay.
This will be a technical session, so we want all of you to be little more attentive so that you will be able to pick up and we will be able to clarify your queries at the end. So you can start.
Thank you so much. I hope it's in first slide now.
No,
Is
no,
this-
it's in the 14th slide and it is not in the full screen as well.
Okay. Just a second. Is it perfect now?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'm thankful to Dr. Angel and the whole team of CIT NCERT for giving me this opportunity. I take this opportunity to welcome all the dedicated teachers who have gathered here today. And let me quickly start off with the technical session. As we know that we are in the time of evolving digital landscape, and we are all part of it, and we certainly cannot run away or try to even go away from it. So over the next 90 minutes, I'll try to focus on various aspects of the device security, and trying to equip you with the knowledge and strategies that can help us to enhance the security posture of both at individual level as well as the networks within our schools and the institutions we are affiliated to. So I hope by the end of the session, we'll be able to understand what is device safety and why device safety matters today in this digital world. And we'll be able to spot some common threats and risks that can potentially harm not only our own devices, but also our associated people. And we'll be able to know like what are the best practices that can help us to safeguard our data personally as well as in the professional context. And we'll be able to know like what we have to do at the end of the session, like how to swiftly react in case of any security breach or vulnerability is found out. So let us start. So understanding digital safety and security is a broadly theme, but I feel that we have to ensure that both the dimensions are covered, because safety and security, when we talk about safety and security, it's not about just installing an antivirus or buying something or installing a free antivirus gets the job done. We have to take care from dual dimension. One is the physical, another one is the virtual. So when we talk about the virtual, we are all aware, like, how to safeguard. For example, we must be hearing now, we need to safeguard our password. We need to ensure that our screens are protected. We nowadays putting off a small sticker in front of camera. That's a different part. But let us try to understand in a systematic way. So when we talk about device safety and security, we first talk about the physical safety as well. Because nowadays, when we are trying to tell or interact with the students who are rather the future of our country, it is not just the virtual thing. We have to be concerned of the physical aspect as well, like how to ensure that the physical device is safe. And digital security emphasis today measures and practices that we can talk about. It's ensuring that both the dimensions. So we have to tell them, or we have to know first, that physical and virtual, both the aspects are covered. And so what we cover about in virtual security its password lock to ensure that the password is not guessable. And it's not just random 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be something unique that we can know, or we only know, or we want the people to know. And then the antivirus. So when it comes to physical security, suppose, for example, not just mobile or the device, like for example, laptop or the data related to the students and their curriculum progress, we should be keeping it in a safe place that should not be easily accessible. We can use some methods and technique, or even just a safe, or we can place it under surveillance or strict observation place. So it's just like how we can say that in the context of education, that since learning has been, we are dependent on electronic devices for teaching and learning today, including the administration task. So from laptops and tablets to smart boards, so everything has got an involvement of software, I believe, in some of the other way. So we just need to ensure that the data it is created, like for example, the data of the students' interaction behavior does not fall into the wrong hands. So what we consider it to be a very normal actually holds in, too much, I can say, invaluable in the student test, because artificial intelligence depends on the watching the people's behavior and the movement. So everything that has a feature of recording or watching or capturing the moments, it should be protected. So why device safety or device security rather is essential? So going ahead in a way, like why it is essential, it's not just a part of the educational context, but also it's capturing the sensitive information that I shared just now. What we consider to be basic is actually going to be new for the cyber criminals. We may see our students behavior every day, how it performs, how it behaves, but for the people who are working on AI, or who are rather collecting data for analyzing the AI behavior to generate their, to help the website or the application develop further. So for them, that's a treasure. If they know how I behave, how I interact, how I nod my head, so that will be again helping them to create something, nowadays what is going on, a deep fake video or something that creates a replica of same what can be done. So I can try to give some examples, like, what is the relevance of device, like considering the laptops we use today by the teachers to create lesson plans, and that same similar thing, each of the device holds immense value. So it's not just from protecting the hardware, like for the security purpose, we also need the software, so that it needs to be handled with care. And while we focus on the next few slides, I'd like to keep this in mind, or request you rather to keep this in mind, that what we learn from here is more psychological, and it's more about understanding than a total technical, because both the aspects have to be covered. First of all, you see, more than the success of breaching the network, it's nowadays the social engineering, or how people are able to pretend themselves to be your genuine friend. So over the next remaining time, I'll just try to focus on that aspect. So common threats and risks. What are those common threats and risks that we have to interact with the daily, we can say, daily life? So it's like mobile, computer, desktop, USB, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi router, CCTV, and Internet of Things. So when we talk about these devices, now you understand this, why these are important, and why is it common threat? Now we have read already. So first and foremost is that on all the devices or gadgets that are mentioned here, there, I can say, the few important reasons that we need to focus on while covering this aspect is the safeguarding the sensitive information. Our device in the personal level and also in the institution setup are repositories, I can say, of invaluable information. So that we have to focus it down, and then ensuring confidentiality and preserving the integrity of the system. So with this, now let's focus on first the mobile devices. So mobile devices that we have daily in our hand, while we may not be aware of, we sometimes intentionally and unintentionally we download something which is very attractive to us. So we need to ensure that we keep a check on what are we doing and what not, so that it helps us, in ensuring the safety of us and also the family. So now going ahead to the next part, computer and desktop. So these are the initial things that I'm going to say, that so that in details we can cover up later on. So mobile, after mobile, the computer forms the integral part. Although mobile is widely replacing computers in our daily activities, but you see, computers and desktops are still used in educational institutions rather than although the tablets or the smartphone that we have. So these are forming the essential devices, and let us focus on how we can safeguard them in the coming slides. And another form of the utility is that a USB stick. Now, USB stick comes in the form of which was initially into megabytes and now into GB and then into terabyte, So we sometimes use it without knowing the source of it. So in this coming slides, I'll be telling you how we can safeguard them. And then Bluetooth, previously we used to rely a lot on Bluetooth, and nowadays we have been trying to avoid it. But again, if not configured, how it can be a how it can be a source of threat. And Wi-Fi router, as we know that we are using Wi-Fi router on our daily basis in every institution, even at our home. So what are the potential dangers that are associated with router in case we don't configure them, or if we leave them as it is or use them as it is, it was there in the initial time. And then CCTV and IoT. So CCTV, as we know that we are relying too much on CCTV because of the current situation. Sometimes it goes a little out of control in some areas. So we are relying on CCTV nowadays, and IoT is Internet of Things because we have made our life to be very dependent on technology. So what happens is whenever we are trying to incorporate device with the timely functioning of the device, like for example, you see the smart cooking tops, the smart utilities. So we have converted them using the internet, making it IoT. So they know which time to perform what work. So now we can then focus on the elaborate part of what are the common threats that are associated with mobile. So mobile devices, when you see that it's not just a mobile, but it's source of too many good information gadgets. And I feel what are the most common threats that are associated with this is the malwares or malicious software. That's the short form. So which can get unknowingly, without our consent, they get downloaded, and so which seems to be seemingly like harmless application actually turns out to be very harmful. So that can range from the device getting heated up to you might feel that the battery is getting drained very, very fast and you don't know. And alongside this, so this can be still an issue to be not serious upon. But yes, when you are handling good position and when you have a lot of data in your Gmail or any mail, because see, when we talk about the mails, although Gmail and other service providers, when we use them, they have their own security. But again, when it is compromised from your mobile, if at all your mobile is compromised, the mail service provider won't be able to help us with that. So similarly, in these cases, we see that unauthorized access is a very significant risk for the mobile devices, where it can be falling into the wrong hands, or just a security flaw. Like security flaw in the sense, suppose when we are using a particular devices, that can be any brand, let us not take any name. So what happens, regularly they release updates about any notable flaw that they have identified in the system, and they release the update. In case we don't take the update, our system still remains vulnerable, and this can be often exploited by the cyber criminals. So what happens, this leads to data breach. And here other applications that you are using, suppose for example, in case of smart classrooms, we have some applications or device that contains the data So that can fall into the wrong hands. And if found out, then we
Sorry, Monojit sir, for coming in. Can you be little louder? Because there is some people are saying it's little low. If you can be little.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So authorized access I was talking about. We need to be more focused on how and in what manner we handle the data and handle the mobile device first of all. So, and we should be more vigilant in terms of application download, because every application that remains or that is with the familiar name must not be the real one that we are looking for. Suppose we have to keep in mind about the few checks that are mostly in terms of the number of users they have downloaded when we go to the Play Store. Suppose when we see the name with the similar like NCERT, so NCERT, if it is having an application, there can be someone who has developed a free version of it and uploaded in the Play Store that resembles the similar name. So here we have to be cautious that says the number of users that have downloaded and many other checks. So in this, not just for NCERT, any daily basis we use the applications, we have to be cautious in this way. And particularly to the security measure. And let us be, as a teacher, let us keep in our mind that we are focusing or relying much upon antivirus software. But antivirus software is not a solution for everything. It's again that we have to be cautious while installing the antivirus, that not relying on something that is free. We have to ensure that it is a reputable antivirus, and cautious while granting access to all the permissions that is asking for. And I believe additionally at the institutional level, we can create more sensitivity or sensitization or awareness that the device management solutions can be effectively taken care of, particularly at the educational level. So from this, we can have a key takeaway in case of mobile devices, that our exploration of the mobile device, like when we keep on searching, we really keep on clicking whatever it comes upon. So we have to be convinced that while we try to download, that convincing your own self is must, that we are downloading is the right one, and what we are doing is right. And before downloading, we have to be very much critical of the genuinity or authenticity of the application. So with this, we move on to the computer. Now, before mobile computer was the one of the only lifeline that we have when it comes to the processing of data. And so I feel that still that computers and desktop being central to many educational institutes are vulnerable to many threats, where the primary threats includes again virus, worms, malicious programs. So apart from this, well, we see the most in terms of educational institutes are the phishing attacks. So phishing attacks represent another significant risk that cyber criminals often use, like the deceptive mails that resemble original instructions as can be received from the government agencies also. But here we should be focused on that the domains, whether it resembles the origin, but is it original? And similarly, while handling it, we have to ensure the only key decision makers download, for example, the attachment, or if at all there is no protocol as such where there should be, it can be accessed by anyone. We have to ensure that it is being well secured at the network level. And whenever it's more, like for example, we are receiving more emails, we have to ensure that whether the email has been into the fallen into some like if it is a Gmail, we can then move on to another Gmail. If not possible, then we have to ensure where it is being used, or was it used to view some unwanted sites, and the access can be checked and then it can be removed from there. So similarly, and the use of reliable antivirus source. Here, for the institutional activities or institutional usage, it is essential that we have the most trusted, or if not, then at least from a solution that is recommended by government, and following the best practices that ensures regular updates, strong password policies, data backup procedures, and overall security postures of computer and desktop. And so from here, the key takeaway we will say in terms of analyzing threats to computer and desktop, that proactive measures are essential, not anything that has to be done that will be, post-reactive measures, but it is the best part is pre or proactive measures, where we can focus on ensuring the safeguarding of the assets than waiting for the damage to happen. And then we focus on the USB. Now it's not just for us when we are trying, because students nowadays, for their assignments and for their daily work, starting from the junior school to mid-level and higher, they are all using pen drives or USBs. So what we can tell them is that USBs are vulnerable to bugs or we can say malicious. So there are certain rules or predefined regulations that we must induce in their thought process, so that can help them to use it. Suppose use it in a sensible way. So like, for example, when we use these small storage devices that are like incredibly convenient, they also bring some threats that has to be taken care. Like, they are sometimes like if at all we don't buy it from a genuine or an authenticate source, so malwares can be automatically or pre-installed in it. So when in the computer, we must have options for preventing the auto run, so that whenever any readable devices are plugged in, it should not go on an auto run device. And at the same time, we have to ensure that it is last or previously used from a genuine or trusted source. In case there is any doubt about being it is trusted, before running it, we must use it in a computer which is actively scanned, or it has got an updated antivirus solution that can help in removing any virus that are present in any form. And again, while handling the USB devices, here again in both the terms, not just virtually using antivirus, but again physically, that we have to ensure that it is kept or managed in a proper way. So it is to ensure that the receiving or the files that are stored here, or it was used in a proper way. And I can tell from little of mine experience that even the very top officers of the country have fallen prey to USB, where it was compromised, and very national secrets have passed on to wrong hands, because inside USB there are small files which can be at the size of kilobyte, but they manage to copy the whole system, and they can pass it on. They can create a backdoor channel if not detected, or if not used a proper protocol. So what I can say here is that USBs are utilities that help us, but again, USBs are something that we need to be very cautious while using. And let us be cautious while using USB or buying USB at large. We should not buy randomly from anywhere. And while buying, we have to ensure that it is safe. And after buying, we have to ensure that we install it only, or we run in a computer which has got antivirus in it. So Bluetooth. Now, Bluetooth was a very convenient and widely used wireless communication method that supported connectivity long back when we did not have any other mode of communication for sharing the files in the older times. Now we have other methods, but still Bluetooth is used for your headset, and Bluetooth has got threats that are associated with it, because Bluetooth, if kept on, it can be explored by cyber criminals who can then pair the devices. And through Bluetooth, as we know, not just it is possible to connect your headphone, but you can make calls also. So what happens using the Bluetooth, the same cyber criminal can exploit those options and it can create the option of calling, gathering the information. So there are some technical terms that are associated, like bluejacking, blue snuffing. So it's like passing on the messages, or you utilizing your contacts to to send some message or call them. So that creates a as a type of, we can say that something, and sometime to be ashamed of, some kind of thing that can potentially happen, or it creates an impact on the reputation, we can say. And secure devices such as Bluetooth, we need to ensure that we have the device pairing or the device visibility to be off, or with the trusted sources that we do, so that what happens in case we are using some utilities of our own that has a Bluetooth and we have not turned it off or we have kept it on, so it is vulnerable to getting exploited at any level, even including, it happens in chain. Like for example, if a criminal manages to intrude into someone's Bluetooth, so from there it can get the ability to pass it on to the next devices and then so on. So with this, then I move on to Wi-Fi router, as we are using Wi-Fi regularly. And so Wi-Fi is like a gateway to our internet connection. Wi-Fi routers play, a pivotal role, we can say, in our educational institution, and where it focuses mainly on network security. So Wi-Fi router is just the main highway between me, or like us, and the whole wider network that is available. So here we have to keep focus that when we buy a router, we are not relying on the predefined passwords that are there. One of the primary risks that are associated with that is unauthorized access, because of the poor management or configuration that are there in the Wi-Fi, and that results in compromising the entire network, not just of our own device. The number of devices associated with it all gets compromised. So here in the same case, we have to ensure that we are keeping ourselves updated with any releases that are done by the firmware, like as I mentioned in case of other antivirus also, because or devices in terms of mobile, every device with the passing days are, because they're made up of code, so they can be bypassed or broken in any form. So acknowledging that they are able to provide solutions. So in case if the solutions are not applied in your device, so it can be a form of a complication or a loss. So in the same way, we have to use a strong unique password. So that password is important because the password helps in ensuring that at least it is safe from some time. Again, it should not be something that you are using daily life for all devices. It should be a little different than the other. So, and we can say like using of other encryption method like the WPA and other that are there. So what that helps us in adding an additional layer of protocols or additional layer of security measures that are there. So from here we can take the key takeaways. So when we talk about Wi-Fi router security, we have to remember that the security of our network is only as strong as the weakest link. So what I mean is that the more complexity is going to be helping us to ensure that we are safe, because by prioritizing it, we can say using such a strong password and keeping the Wi-Fi updated with regular patch or the firmware releases, so we can build a potential defense against any threat. And again, alongside this Wi-Fi, I would like to say that every devices that we use are interconnected. Like for example, if we don't have our mobile device to be secured enough, and that same we are using to connect the other Wi-Fi router or going somewhere, so it has to be an all-way protection. So now let me come upon to the CCTV and IoT. So CCTV, as you know, that it has become a part of educational institute nowadays. Like it was earlier confined to only top corporation houses and government premises, but now we see that CCTV is everywhere, even all the educational institutes. So the risk associated with CCTV is wide more than that we can see, because we think CCTV to be of our help. that it helps us to ensure that the safety and security of the premises are focused on. The students are, or students or even faculties, to sometimes all the associates are in an understanding that they are being looked upon, and to, but at the same time, if the recordings are in the wrong hands, that can be used for different purposes. And again, so and if not used, or if not we can say reconfigured, or it is used with the default configuration, so then the same utility can be against us. So it can rather turn the way to others. Like for example, the cyber criminals can get our own CCTV footage for their utilities. So in this case, I can say that we have to be cautious, and while using the CCTV, we have to ensure that the default passwords and other sections that are given in the user manual has to be read, not simply applied, because we want to use it with our money and we want it for us, not to be exploited by someone. So similarly, in this case of IoT or Internet of Things, we can say that Internet of Things are the utilities that are made by large, focusing upon the regular devices that we use. Like for example, you see nowadays everything has become smart. When we talk of our cooking devices to do something, we set it from our mobile. So everything has been converted, normal things, into Internet of Things. So imagine that to be, because of your poor configuration at the mobile, falling into wrong hand, it can be very difficult to manage, and it can lead a lot of consequences. Similarly, in terms of security measure, or rather I can say the key takeaways that we can learn from here is that the CCTV and IoT, Internet of Things, that these technologies are crucial for maintaining a well-being for our educational environment. But at the same time, rather than they giving security, we have to ensure that we have provided them the security first, because the utilities, as I mentioned, are more vulnerable to criminals because of the default setting configuration if we don't use it if we don't change it for us. And now moving on to the next, like what are the network security, or what is a network? So network can widely be defined into three categories when we can say. And network security is like, in simple terms, I have tried to understand, is like having a strong lock and guards to protect our roads and travel. Now, when we think about network, like for example, it's like our own friends, our own colleagues. And network security is like having a strong guard at the door to ensure that others who are unwanted are not joining us. So network security, again, is what we can say is to ensure that we know who are joining and who are not joining. And network security forms actually the backbone of the internal communication within our organization. The internet that we are using today, suppose we are connected thousands of kilometers apart from each other, but it's now we can say it's not LAN, or it's not WAN, or it's not, let us not go ahead in that, but it is all because of internet. So internet was something, or this network was something that was created using the LAN cables in the initial time, when you go back to the history of it. So this network is also always to ensure that we fit in the right people, because now we can't control who joins in. Anyone with an access who can buy a mobile and have a SIM can have access, or even the free Wi-Fi in that case, that are available in a coffee shop, that can be used to gain access. So now it is our responsibility to ensure that how we can have a secured network that denies, or that allows the people only the one we want and not the ones we don't want. So again, the network is divided into some categories. Now we learn them. It's the local area network. Like I've tried to say here is that a LAN or local area network is like a road and streets in your neighborhood that helps device inside your home to talk to each other. So it can be within the home or within the room inside that. And wide area network or WAN is like highways connecting the neighborhoods. Because when you go into the technical terms, it goes in this way. Like LAN can be the, we can say, the foundational network or foundational framework for your internal communication. Like for example, the computer in your educational setup, if you talk about, it can be the computer, printer, server that is confined in a particular geographical location, and very particular, that you can say your area, or rather your house, your office. But when we talk about man, so man is largely about, like we can focus, or like the WAN is can be, it can be in a geographical location, but that is little wider, which LAN earlier was in your office, but WAN can be in a different city as well. So these are the basic difference. The connectivity of them are same. So it develops a particular network. So here we can see, we have heard the term of VPN, virtual private network. So what happens when we have offices in different places? So we use the WAN concept. So we ensure that the connection that we are using is safe, and we don't have anyone unwanted to it. And then at the same time, let us focus upon the usage on when LAN is used and when WAN is used. LAN is used for a smaller area network, like for example, office usage, as we discussed. And when you have a wider area, so that time we need a wide area network. This can be simply understood. And in the similar way, when we talk about man, so here we can understand with the concept, like man is like a busy roads in your town and city. It helps the computer in your town to share the information and connect. Like for example, when it is on the different network or different, man helps us to connect or find the roads that can lead us or connect us. So in the similar way, we probably, what happens is that now, since we are just discussing on it, in case you have any further queries, we can elaborate more on each topic. And again, on this, about both the parts, when we talk about network security, one of the critical aspect that comes into play is the VPN, the virtual private network. So VPNs are used nowadays in every cases. Whenever, suppose for example, we are in a Wi-Fi network that is not covered, or whenever Wi-Fi network where there we don't know about the security, then we use the VPN to ensure at least it is safe. But again, when we use VPN, we have to ensure that this VPN is not just another free VPN. We know it is on from a reliable source, so then we can use it. So now let us come to the firewall concept, like how firewall and what is firewall, and what are the components of it, and what is router. Now firewall, as we know, that it is a very common term, that when we heard that let us keep the firewall on, and always it is mentioned that firewall must be turned on. So firewall is like what we do by default. Windows and every operating system, it has its own firewall, but we rarely turn it on, and we rarely focus on it actually. So firewalls are like considered it to be a gatekeeper, like it's like a gatekeeper for our network that monitors, controls all the incoming and outgoing network traffic that are based on predefined security rules. So the security rules can be configured by us. The primary purpose of firewall, we can say, is like to create a barrier between the secure internal network, because inside the office or premises already we have followed the protocols, already everything is sorted. And we know that whenever, by following all this protocol that we have discussed, or from any other sources, if you have gained some information, so we have applied. But what about connecting to the outer network? So at that time, this firewall comes into play. So this is that gatekeeper which ensures that we are connecting to the right source, and this performs a series of function, and that is like to establish a barrier between a secure internal network and potentially untrusted external network. Why we are saying potentially? Because we don't know. So like for example, the outer internet, coming out from this internal office network or the communication network. So here it works on different way, like for example, packet filtering the data or the packets that are transferred. So every individual data packet, whatever we are sending, so it filters that. Even blocking them, we can have a specific criteria, like for example, the keywords or any other suspicious activities. So, and again, at the same time, it can focus on deep packet inspection, but it all depends. We can generally term it as on the basis of the configuration that we give. And again, for the best practices that we can follow in ensuring the firewall security is that the one that we had for router, we have to ensure that all the basic default communication or the basic default configurations that were rather put across or placed in built, we have to change it. We have to ensure regular audits, what are done to this. And it is not that in case we have a small scale offices or small scale premises, then the internal features must be kept on of the operating system, and regularly audits of checking the current network policies are capable enough or not, and monitoring the logs that are generated. That helps in understanding the potential security threats. And if we have a wider network, then we have to test, or effectively we have to carry out that whether the firewall is really working or not, or whether it is, because regularly, when I say, because every passing day we are getting some threats or the other, even other own system sometimes misfunction. So we have to ensure that all the security measures that are employed here, so like the intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system, the IDS and IPS, we'll be discussing in depth how it works. It basically analyzes a behavior. Like whenever we are installing an application, it is supposed to go on a different path, but against that defined path, it is going to somewhere else. So we have to identify, and that is not done by us, that is predefined. So these all are the measures that are predefined, and that is what firewall does it. So it works on these principles, and we can say that by this way, the firewall automatically will do it, but we have to ensure it from our side that the few above checks are done. And here coming on to router, we can say is like a traffic cop, like who decides like how it should be passed on, or where it should go. Like if we consider internet to be a big road, so, and clubbing a router and switch will be easier, because when we talk about router and switches, they both facilitate the flow of data between the devices within a network. And nowadays we have Wi-Fi in our home, so we have router and then we have a switch. So that helps. The switch actually helps the routers to extend the connectivity, and we can then decide how far and what can be, or which the device must connect to which one. So securing routers and switches, then it becomes more important as to ensure that there is no unauthorized access to the devices, and hereby implementing strong authentication mechanism, such as not just complicated password, but multi-factor authentication that ensures that only authorized personnel can access, and an authorized person can only change the setting of the network. And physical security measures are also needed here. Like for example, it should be placed at a location where it is not easily accessible. And alongside this, regularly logging and monitoring that will help to ensure a security measure, that in case there is a big network, so that the network administrator can keep a track and analyze the device activity, detect unusual patterns that are happening. And at the educational level, it is essential to have this, so that misconfigured or an unauthorized device must not intervene and get this compromised. So the features that we can have here is regular update, encryption, and to ensure that we have a secure socket layer and backup in case of any issues. So now we can focus on the best practices that we can have for device security. So when we talk about the best practices, let's just focus on the basic things like a password, using the super password. So it should not be super 123, but again, it should be something complicated, that because nowadays, if you see, while using Google Chrome or any other browser, they suggest you some password, which is very complicated, like exclamation and then @ and then some numbers and then random. If you rely on it, then again, it comes on to an option that gives you to save it automatically. It gives you a suggestion in the browser itself. And then you click on save. But it is okay that you are using, that we are using rather the super passwords that are suggested, very complicated. But what about the other things? Like, for example, when we use one such measure where it gives the super password of complicated algorithm or something complex characters, whereas we don't have our devices safe. So, and we store it in the browser itself, whereas our devices are compromised. So again, in this case, we are vulnerable. So once, it's not just one selecting one out of these best practices, it has to be all the best practices that are mentioned and that we come to know that that can be essential for us. Like, for example, when we have a password, the password must be very complex, but at the same time, it should start, first of all, with ensuring that the device is well kept. And then for offline security, we need to, as I mentioned, that we need to hide, or we need to ensure the safety of where the device is. And at the same time, we need to ensure that there is a form of locking or something that can help us to ensure it is not in the wrong hands. And at the same time, we ensure a regular training for not just students, but also to staff, so that in case of any changes that are happening, that are going on at present, is to be applied. And at the same time, both the students and the staff are to be aware of the common threats such as phishing, malware, unauthorized access. Because if at all a criminal wants to get access, it will not only take the support or compromised account of student, but also it can try to breach or try to use techniques to bypass or gain the confidence of the teacher or staff as well. Here we have to train the users or the users, in case both the teacher, students, and also the staff members, on proper device hygiene, like a password, like the best practices, use of external devices. As I said, that even very knowledgeable senior persons, senior staff officers of our senior officers of the country have failed to understand the vulnerability, and it caused the serious issues in our national security as well. So when we emphasize the best practices, so we need to understand what are the best in terms of mentioned, not just on the manual, but best that are regularly updated. When we use a browser, if at all there is any news that says anything about the browser, we have to follow that. And again, it has to be from the verified sources. And suppose, for example, when we have a network that has over 100 systems or as much, and it is critical, then we have to ensure for a incident response protocol, where we have to educate the staff, student on incident responses, clearly mentioning what can be the procedure that has to be followed, such as reporting the incident, recording the suspicious behavior or activity that can detect the potential breaches, and also it can deny or deter them. So again, at the same time, we have to apply the configuration of access control, like who can access at what depth. Suppose a user role, if he is an administrator, he can have access to anything. But in case if he is a student, he's not allowed, or he will not be allowed to change the password or anything as such. So this type of measures, including the device usage, can help, like who can carry device and who can download what, or who can access in what website, can help in a lot way. And at the same time, we can focus on following the patch management, or the, we can say, keeping the firmware or the device updated with the latest releases, as mentioned, for all devices. And after this, we can focus on a lot, relies upon us at the individual level. So what we can do at the individual level has to be the foundation before we can blame the network administrator or as such. Like, for example, avoiding suspicious links and untrusted sources. And we have to refrain from opening attachments or clicking on links that are from unknown sources. And similarly, we should be aware of all the social engineering tactics that are employed by cyber criminals, that may use impersonation by using urgent request or urgently health issues, or something that shows in a sense of urgency, you know. So we have all been a victim in some case or the others, I believe, like directly or indirectly, like the immediate neighbor has fallen trap. And now with artificial intelligence being able to that's why I said, when the videos somewhere, everything you see today has been related. Because of the videos that are appearing now, you see, or deepfakes, so they can create a video as such to show you with a slight clip of partially you or partially us, that it's sending it to our immediate neighbor, that this is the photo of this of the person who just found somewhere, you know, just cropping the face and putting it, so please send some money, so we are admitting to the hospital. So we have to be just give sure that, and we have to ensure our students also stay focused, that not to fall victim to such. And we have to familiarize ourselves with the security settings of our devices, and to configure in the way that it doesn't allow installation from unknown sources. And at the same time, to enable the biometric authentication like screen lock and device tracking, and regularly backing up with the verified source. And at the same time, then we can say that when we have faced, suppose for example, such incident, what can be the best outline? So we can identify the key stakeholders here, because in case the issues are happening or it is an ongoing, we have to identify whom to tell, and according to the classification, there should be a clear layout that whom to approach for what. It should be predefined, not after the incident. And communication protocol about that being not to panic, and what are the things that can be done, the documentation process. And then in case when a security breach is detected, what can be done, like for example, immediately isolating the device. And because if at all one system is compromised, the best solution that can have is not to panic and remove it from the network, so that it cannot transfer. It's just like we can say in case of any other human diseases. And connecting or collaborating with the IT support teams. So there we can understand what the best solution can be. And in case of unavailability as such, the best thing is that we can seek foreign help. And again, turning off the internet, if it is possible, will be the best source. And regular training and awareness that can help in understanding the key measures. And alongside this, some following the protocols that are maintained or established already by the network admin can help in a lot way. And so I feel that in this we can have some mentions about the best practices that I have isolated and have mentioned here are all here. So in case I'd like to mention I'd like to say that it will be good if you can have some questions and I can answer, because generally these are the overviews, And it will be great if you have questions and I can tell them, so it becomes more easier to understand, and any other things that can be addressed.
Any questions from the participants for, can you please raise your virtual hands? Navneet, sir. Can I?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, I liked that you talked a bit about the firewall, and
Yes.
there's a question regarding this only.
Yes, please.
Because we are the teachers, and some of us are taking care of our labs also.
Yes.
So a firewall can be a great way to ensure that students cannot access that unauthorized websites, and
Yes.
if we minimize that, the threats would be also be minimized.
Yes,
So
agree.
can you just tell us the practical ways or easy ways to manage that, so that student cannot access such websites, so that it can be provided in the network itself? I know that hardware firewalls are there, but
Yes.
if there are some software solutions which are free and open source, which we can use, so that we once we configure it in a network, that entire network of the school or the campus can be configured in such a way that they cannot access those websites. Or we can know what kind of websites they are accessing, so that kind of monitoring can be done in the school network, I'm asking.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, ma'am, Dr. Angel, ma'am, I'd like to request your kind intervention here. Ma'am, am I allowed to give answer now, or at the end I must give, ma'am? If you can kindly tell me. Ma'am. Okay, okay. So I guess if you allow me, then we have half an hour time, which will be quite good time for discussing. So is it fine? I note down all the things and then I can tell at the end, because
Yes, Monojit sir, it is okay.
Okay.
Because there are questions which are connected with each other and also related.
Yes,
there
ma'am.
are few
Yes, ma'am.
questions in chat box, one or two only. You can just, you will be already having access to the chat box questions. So you can just listen to all the questions which is coming up, at least 4 or 5 questions, and then you start explaining.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Shrikant sir,
Yes.
can you unmute yourself? Shrikant Kumar, yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Sir, what is the basic difference between firewall and
Your audio
antivirus?
is echoing a lot. Please go ahead, sir.
Basic difference between firewall and antivirus.
All right, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, sir.
Yeah. Verma sir. Verma sir, you can unmute yourself.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Sir, now, what is the...
Sir, your audio is very low. Can you please be a little louder?
Sir, no. What is the best antivirus do you suggest us, sir? No.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, sir. Please, please. Yes, sir. You're saying something, and
sir, I am using Norton, sir. Now, Norton 360.
Okay, sir.
Is it okay? Shall I go with it or shall I replace it with some other?
Okay.
What is your personal opinion? Just say.
Sure. Sure.
ठीक है ना अभी कट करते हैं, कोई बात नहीं कर सकते ना, 2 मिनट होगा शिफ्ट करने के लिए। मैं वाईफाई यूज
Any settings to the system, that is Windows or any
Uh,
to
Yes, sir.
stop.
Sir, your audio is not clear.
Sir, are you audible?
No, sir.
Yes.
Devarkota sir, thoda loud.
Hold on.
My
Yes,
question
sir.
is-
You're right.
My question is,
Yes, sir.
can you change any settings in the system
Hmm.
that helps to block unwanted website to open in the open field? Can you stop? Can you block all the websites which are unwanted for the students? Do you
Okay.
have any settings or any softwares are there to stop the unwanted websites? Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Monojit sir, can you address all these questions so that we can take the next set later?
Sure, sure. So first of all, I'll answer all the 5 questions that I received. So please forgive me for the sequence because I'll try to be. I'll not be able to follow the sequence, but I'll be answering all. First of all, in terms of antivirus, there is nothing, as you know, sir, that permanent. We cannot give the which one is best and which one is not. I personally have worked with Quick Heal antivirus during a few years back, and then what you are using Norton is also good. This is again a commercial thing, sir. You know, because there are some myths that. Viruses are also sometimes being created by antivirus companies. So not going on to all those debates and all such, but again, we see or we suggest that it is to be always focused that which antivirus can have the best solutions. Like what happens is, if at all there is some issues detected in your system, if at all the same gets, it is identified and removed in the next day's system update that we use it or that we receive daily. If it is able to do so, then it is the best antivirus for your system. And if you think that there are some issues wherever you take your pen drive connected to your system, and if it goes to other system, it is going into a hidden mode, or it is getting converted to .exe or something like that, then I believe then you have to get it replaced or rechecked whether your antivirus is working fine or not. So there can be no suggestion as what. I'm really sorry for that, because again it will be a controversial to suggest one above the other. I'm apologizing on that. And again, when it comes to the firewall and antiviruses, firewall is something that are externally or internally made. Like for example, we have this firewall inbuilt within the system. Like for example, if you use Windows XP onwards, Windows 7, whatever it is, they have the inbuilt firewall. If you just go on to the search button and click on the search and then type firewall, you'll see the Windows Defender firewall. It comes up directly. And if you see it is connected to the guest, it will show you all the detail, whether it is active or not. But what happens sometimes when we download free antivirus, it by default turns off. So to antivirus, if at all you are keeping multiple antivirus in your system, it will use up the system process. Because antivirus is running a particularly a simple process that involves a monitoring activity, like how we have a class monitor. It overlooks all the other students. So here, when you use multiple antivirus, it will be also of no use. So firewall is sometimes inbuilt, and in case if you have an external firewall, it is used for managing multiple systems. Since at home you will not be having multiple systems, so it is better to have the inbuilt firewall on. And antivirus is an external solution that is installed, like for example an application that has the facility of receiving daily updates, and so with that update it is able to check. And firewall also, which is inbuilt system inside the system, it is also receiving updates, but sometimes it receives joint updates, like for example over the long period of time, like cumulative updates. But for antivirus, it is a regular basis. No, in many cases, updates can be a regular basis for the Windows firewall as well. Okay. And coming on to the other part, whether you see the firewall in this case, if at all we want something to configure to this question of accessing the website. Now, sir, you can do some complicated things that will be at the local host level. Now, 127.0.0.1. So that local host level, if you put something, a website, that will be blocked. That is one part, how to block the website. But if at all you're using a browser, I'm telling you about the ways that doesn't require money. Like, for example, if you have a browser in Google Chrome, or it has got the parental control feature. So from here, you can apply the setting to moderate or child. So it will block the sites which are having adult contents or contents which are not advised for students or such. So these are the free options available. And in case, again, for the free applications that are available, so it is to be downloaded with strict concern again, because sometimes they can be a source of threat than a source of support to you. So I hope this addresses the questions. So, ma'am, can we take on the next question?
Yes, sir. There are 3-4 questions that has come in the chat box. So it's about like, does my smartphone need antivirus protection? It's more of antivirus question.
Okay.
And also there is a question like, my files are hidden by virus. How can they be made visible? Actually, these questions, like when it is hidden by virus, how to be made visible? It's all some technical questions. We can take it up later. In general, like these questions related to cyber safety, security part, you can tell now.
Yes.
And this how to prevent students to access unwanted website, I think you have already addressed. And download softwares also. Because in schools, mostly students, when they are given access, they download it. So how it can be parked. And another question is about how can we ensure the password to use router, CCTV and not accessible the footage? I think like this will be a very specific question. So it's more about a very technical question related to not accessing the footage by any of the technician. Maybe like sir is from the KITE. So he's having a question on that. So I will have 2 people who have raised hand. Let me just ask them. Sanjay Singh ji.
Yes, ma'am.
Before sir, one small thing is there are many teachers who are not from any computer science background. Don't get pissed off with all these technical questions. So just 1 minute, Sanjay ji, please hold on. So I could see there are many sad faces also coming up from teachers. So don't get become too much, don't get worried that there are so many things which is going above your head. You don't need to worry about it. There are people who are technically more, so they are having more questions on it. If you don't have questions, don't feel odd, because we want as teachers minimum things to be known, which already Monojit sir has covered. We want you to just start thinking that as a teacher, I need to safeguard my device also. I need to safeguard my students and school device as well. The idea is only that. But since the expert is available, we are giving opportunity for asking these questions. So don't get worried or don't get disheartened with the, like, I am not at this level. You should not think like that. Okay? Yeah. Sanjay ji, please go ahead. Sanjay sir? Sir, can you mute yourself? Sorry, unmute. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Ma'am, sir, you talked about the safety measures, like firewall is a safety measure for the websites and passwords for the emails and all. But sir, can you shed some light regarding, as we have seen that many people are using cross-site scripting accesses, and moreover, the password breakers are also being used. They are easily available. So how to safeguard from such things? Please, sir.
Yes. Sir, when we talk about another questions, ma'am, or like I can answer? Ma'am, any other questions, or like I will go
Yeah,
ahead?
yeah, sir. I have a follow-up question. Actually, two questions are there.
Okay, okay.
So one was that I asked about that firewall, and there is this DNS provider that is OpenDNS.
OpenDNS,
So
okay.
I've used that OpenDNS at my home, not at the
Okay.
institutional level,
Okay.
but in that OpenDNS, that there was a setting that you can choose what kind of security you want, what kind of content you want to block or what kind of content you want to allow. So that's possible at home level, but when I tried, at the institutional level, most of the tools were available at a price. So
Yes.
a free version was not available, which we can use at our institution, a version which can be free and open. So if such version is available, such that we can use it inside the router itself, the main distribution center, or from which the internet is coming. So it can be applied to all the wings. So that was what I was asking.
Okay.
And there is another question that is not related to the firewall, but security threats in form of rootkit and spyware. So what about these two? Can we look at the signs to identify if the rootkit is there or not, or if the spyware is very hard to detect, but if there is
Yes,
any,
hard to-
again, tools so that we can schedule a scan using which we can identify if the spyware is there or not.
Navneet
So
sir, since it's a core technical question, your question will be discussed separately, and
Okay.
take some generic questions to address now, because it's a very important question according to you, but it's a very core technical question for others to also follow it up. So we'll hold on with this question, but we will tell Monojit sir to give a response, which we will communicate to you.
Okay, ma'am, no problem.
Lakshmi ma'am, can you unmute yourself? Ma'am, you're muted. Please unmute. Ma'am, you're muted. Please unmute.
Ma'am.
Please go ahead, Lakshmi ma'am.
So while saying about mobile devices, you said imagine someone trying to sneak into your tree house. You said like that. So here I don't know what is meant by tree house.
This is actually this is for the children. Tree houses are the concept that is widely circulated for the kids. Kids, in the sense, like when we mean for the tree house, at the school level, at the kindergarten nowadays, it is taught that you have your own tree house. That means that the small houses above the tree.
Just to make you understand that anyone entering into your own house. That somebody sneaks into your mobile. It's not a technical term.
I thought that is a technical word.
No,
That's why
it's not a technical term. Just to say that usually the whole house is not owned by every kid. So when we wanted to say that if you have your own house at a tree and then somebody sneaks in, so it's an example like that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
But sir, can you please unmute yourself? The last question.
Namaste, madam. I have two questions. One is how to find out the genuinity of the apps and softwares. One question. And another one is it possible to access computer which connected to Wi-Fi router?
Yeah.
These are the two questions. Thank you.
Monojit, the second question is clear?
No, the second question, sir, how to access the system which is connected by?
Can you repeat the second question?
Okay. Is it possible to access computer which connected to Wi-Fi router? Wi-Fi router.
Sir, that is a mode of connectivity. Like, what are we trying to access? Like,
no. Files which are in the computer which connected to Wi-Fi router. Can I access that files?
If it is shared, sir, if it is shared using FTP file transfer protocol, if it is shared, sir, if it is shared in the network, we can access.
If it is not shared?
No, then all these discussions that we have, that will come into place. We have to convince you using social engineering. We have to ensure your devices is compromised. Then only we can access all things that we have discussed. If you have not shared with others and still someone is trying to access it, then
So do you want to understand that is it possible to compromise and then access the data?
Sir. Madam. Yes.
Yes, it is
So
possible.
it is
Sir. That's what
possible.
that is what we are discussing, sir.
Yeah.
It is possible.
Monojit sir, keeping the timeline in view, if you can address the questions. which
Yes,
will come
yes,
up,
yes.
so
The
we can
genuine,
proceed.
yes, I'll come again. So the finding about the genuinity of an application, for example, the application, when we use it, there is a term called MD5. MD5, that is the hash value, because an application can be with similar name. So suppose, for example, that I am telling you from my experience. So when I was with the software firm, so antivirus firm actually, so we had to ensure that the application that we are installing is of genuine. Like for example, there is no corruption in the software. So how we used to check is by checking the MD5 or the hash value. So suppose, for example, when we download any application, you will see there is a hash value written over there. So MD5 hash value is the authentic. So when we download that from an original source, it will have its hash value written there. Now, when you're using from another source, you got it from some friend. If you can check the hash value, because there is software that can, tell you the hash value of the software that you are trying to install. So if you compare both of them and the hash value is same, so then it will be a genuine one. So this is little technical, but yes, it is possible. Once you check the hash, the integrity of the software is measured with the hash value. Yes.
There is a question by Kerala Krishna sir, Krishna Kumar, like when operating system like Linux based systems are more secure than other operating systems, why we are not using Linux based open in operating systems in school? So this is a recommendation from the government also. In all the guidelines we have given, the education system should slowly shift to open source, free and open source softwares to be used more rather than any proprietary softwares. And also there is already a recommendation that Linux-based operating systems should be used. There are states like Kerala is one of the leading states, but similarly there are states who have started making more of like Linux-based systems. But it is a long-term change that the leaders has to take it. Yes. There is a lot of guideline already coming up. We look forward for such a change when they understand. Okay. Yeah. So Monojit sir, thank you so much for giving your time and taking this session. I think like today, many of them maybe have listened a lot of new technology terms today, which it was not relevant to them all these days. Maybe it was not thought as relevant, but sometimes we feel that slowly, may not be in one session we all understand everything, because I'm also not a technical person. I'm similar to like all the teachers who are attending. So but over years, over time passes, when we keep listening more and more, and when we come across, we will be able to learn about how to keep our mobiles and desktops in a better, safe manner and secure it. More than safety part, this is more of a security aspect. How do we really establish a security in our devices so that we really use it? Because nowadays we see in the context that it's very lightly taken. Everywhere now we use this Alexa and everything into the school as well. But we do not really know whether there is a data. Most of us use smartwatch. How much data we are sharing from the smartwatch, we don't even know. We have connected our smartwatch to our mail IDs, and we are regularly using it for our exercise tracking, walking, steps, everything. But if you see, once you start tracking your steps through smart watch, you will be getting advertisements, promotions in your mail ID related to your diet, related to your supplementaries. We don't connect this to, but the reality is, since it is connected to the internet, even the steps you are tracking gives you information that this person is this much weight and this much walking he does, so better suggest something. So it's very important that we need to really secure, as Monojit sir started saying, that when we secure device, it is more of a security for the data you are sharing with the device. It is not only for the safety of the safety of the device itself. It is more the safety towards us. When you secure the device, we are in a more safe hands. So thank you so much for highlighting this. We are yet to learn more things. It's an initial stage. If you do not understand today any terms, keep a list of terms which you are not getting it, which you are not understanding it. We will have more clarity on it in the coming sessions. Okay. So that is what we are going to do. Thank you so much, sir. So now going forward,
Thank you for helping me with the question. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, for random review purpose, please provide notes, link, PDF. Okay. So basically, you will all, once you finish this training after 2 months, there will be a complete training material which will be shared with you, because in 2 months you will be having some kind of a follow-up activity. So after 2 months, you will be getting whatever sessions are taken. All this, there will be a reading material which will be shared for you other than these presentations as well, so that you will be able to have something in your hand to keep reading and trying to understand. And there will be some kind of system which will be also placed. Okay. So now moving ahead, now we are going to have a 15 minutes break. So we will be coming back. I'll be giving certain instruction before we break. 3:30 we will break. 3:45 we will be starting. So next 4 minutes, there is a quick assessment. Himansi, can you just put the question link in the thing? Question link in the chat box. It's a very short activity to check what you have understood from your session. There is going to be a link with few questions. This is also considered to be for your attendance because some of you have left in between and then joining now. So that should not happen. So kindly ensure that you are participating. It's more than, don't follow that, though I am keep on telling this all as rule, don't take it as rule. Let us make it as a discipline for ourselves. So that we are here leaving out our classes, school for 3 days. We should be somewhere committed towards that. That's why we are trying to keep all these rules. So don't take like why these people are treating like children. Don't take it in that way. But at the end of the day, we will be all having a good learning. Yeah. Himansi, can you share the link? Right. So what we are going to do in the next session is like the next session, there is already you have listened now 2 sessions. Okay. For a beginners to start with, some of you are very well aware of all these things. Some of you have very much exposure to technology. For you, it may not be overburdened. But for initial beginners, listening this 2 session itself, they would have got headache. Some of you must be feeling it's too much to listen now. So now in the next session, there is no presentation by resource person. We are going to have group discussion. And each group will be, you will be sent to groups. There will be a breakout room where you will be going to separate groups. And as a group, you need to prepare one presentation. We will be discussing what is expected for you to prepare and all that. Himansi, is there any challenge? Just give me a minute. So already the question has been put. Can you please, all of you can take up this short quiz for you to just check your own understanding. This is not for assessment. Your participation is more. Even if you do not get the correct answer, don't worry. It's a small short quiz only and it's for your participation. Okay. So after you come back, there will be group activity which you will be expected to do. So this is just only 5 questions. It should not take you more than 2 to 3 minutes. You can finish, go for a break, and let's meet back at 3:45. 3:45 sharp, the session will start.